fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, say. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Yo, how you doing, everybody? It's me, Jesse Blaze Snyder, the coolest geek alive, and I am coming at you all fired up and hot because I had it in my head that, like, shit, you know, I didn't want to admit this for so long, but geek culture is dying. Like, we're not gonna die because people like me and you exist, and we love this science fiction, fantasy, mythology-based worlds. We love worlds, beautiful worlds that make sense, places that we can go to play and to think and to grow intellectually. That's what we love. So this shit's never going to go away. And, you know, for all of the properties that they can kill, and I mean, I'm going to do a long episode this Saturday about how stupid it is that they just announced a live-action Gargoyles series and Greg Weisman is not attached. The very first announcement that this company should have made is Greg Weisman is bringing to life a live-action Gargoyle. I don't know. Maybe this other person that they hired will do a good job. But there's one way to guarantee that it'll be getting done right. And that is to bring in the creative people who helped you get there to begin with. You know, one way to guarantee that Daredevil Born Again didn't have to go to rewrites and scrap all the people and fire all the people like they just did last week is to just hire Stephen DeKnight and the other people who were involved in the first Daredevil series, which is widely considered one of the greatest single things that Marvel Studios has ever achieved. Okay? You know, the fans are not going to let geek culture die. New things will rise up, even if they fuck up Gargoyles and they fuck up, you know, anything else moving forward. You know, whether it's Darkwing Duck or all the Disney Afternoon stuff we like or the video game properties. Believe me, they're going to try to capitalize on these things, and they have not learned any of their lessons. So until Hollywood learns any of their lessons, we're going to continue to get the situation as is, which is Russian roulette. Every other, like, you know, every sixth round, we get a shot to the heart. There you go. You nailed it. You kicked its ass. And the other 5 are a whole bunch of shots in the dark. A whole bunch of shots in the dark. And like I said, you know, I haven't wanted to admit this. And, you know, my buddy's been saying that Star Wars is dead for a long time. And Star Wars is and has been dead to him for a very long time. That's true. And he's not the only one where it's been dead to him for a really long time. But I think with the passing of Ahsoka, it is time to declare Star Wars dead. I mean, look at just what happened here. And I want to go through all this. This is a Deadpool. There's a lot of people in this Deadpool. You know, right here, you know, I said the geek culture Deadpool, the race to the bottom, starring Disney Star Wars, Kurtzman Star Trek, DC and Marvel Studios, The Lord of the Rings, The Witcher, and more. And I have a whole bunch of people and companies and things that I want to talk about here to get into this a little bit and really let's evaluate. We're looking for signs of life in all these franchises. What are we looking at? What has this really become? Okay, so let's start with Star Wars, because that was really my inspiration here. You know, I said, time of death, Ahsoka. I think other fans would point to earlier points in time, but I feel like this is where all support and interest, you know, it's simply collapsed to who cares levels. Who cares? And that's not to say that there's not a person here or a person there getting excited about something and watching the thing, but, you know, we live in a collective consciousness. We are all thinking in lockstep in different ways, and there's so many groups, there's so many group minds. You know, when something is said to us, we respond based on things that other people have said to us, other things we've learned from other people, right? So we're constantly affecting each other's beliefs. We all affect how each other feels about a thing. Because of this, there's like a critical mass that builds up with fandoms, you know, as more and more people kind of intellectually go, I love this thing. This thing is good. I've got nothing bad to say about this thing. More people feel that. They feel that energy of like, wow, well, you know, clearly something's going on. Look at that. You know, Jesse, he really loves that thing. You know, maybe I should check it out. You know, a critical mass is created when there's energy for a thing. How much energy is there for Star Wars? how much energy is left. And I know you might say, well, look at all of the news websites and everybody who's talking about, look, clearly they want. Yes, a favorite pastime of geeks has become making fun of what the non-geeks do to our shit. They take our shit because they know there's something good there, right? And then 9 times out of 10, they seem to just squander it. And I mean, you know what? It's really 9 times out of 10 is right. I mean, we rarely get a Lord of the Rings. And, I'm supposed to be like satisfied with something like, like the Shazam movie. I'm like, oh, that was really fun. And I like, but is it going to change my life? Is it going to change anybody else's life? That's the reason why it wasn't a big hit. Like Shazam's one of my favorite movies from the DC Comics slate of movies that they put out. Love that. Loved watching it with my kids. I rewatched that with my kids. Always loved Shazam. I really think Zachary Levi was a good choice. There's a lot of good choices made in there. I think it's scary in the right ways with the 7 sins, and I think that's always an important choice. I can tell you right now, some of the stupid choices that got made by Hollywood was to let The Rock run the story and go, nah, Black Adam's not going to be in Shazam. I can tell you right now, Shazam would have been much cooler if also Black Adam was in it. Yeah, it would. I would have been way more excited for Black Adam if he had been established in Shazam. And this is a choice that The Rock made because he's a movie star and he wanted to be the lead in the movie. And I get that. Look, we're comics people. We're literary geeks and Muppet fans and stuff. We're not thinking like these actors. Hey, this is my film and I need to look a certain way. And okay, don't judge them. We don't have to judge them. But all we have to do is say, look, if so facto, if you're thinking of you being a movie star and you need to be in your own movie led to fucking up the DC universe and the way this story was meant to be told, then you fucking blew it, man. And oh yeah, I have passion about this. Oh yeah, people have passion to talk about Star Wars. They have passion because they still love what they love. And they never want to see what happened to Star Wars happen to any other brand ever again. I mean, for me, it's not Star Wars. For me, it's Star Trek. And I'm skipping ahead. But oh yeah, I mean, this is a Deadpool, so it's about who died first. And, I'll let you guys write to me, but I'm going to say my piece about who I think died first, who I think got killed first in the geek culture fandom Deadpool. But Star Wars has been killed most recently. And again, one-off bits of enthusiasm. Keep this in mind, right? When you go onto Twitter, let's say you say something about the actress in what was the show? She was on Obi-Wan, and she was Reva. Just a perfectly capable actress. Whatever. It just doesn't matter. She doesn't have a helmet. She's not a cool, scary Sith person. She's just some girl with braids in her hair. I don't care about some girl with braids in her hair. She's not scary. That's not a scary girl. I'm not afraid of that girl. This was a stupid thing to put her in this position where she's supposed to be scary and I'm supposed to be like, no, she's not scary. So now you go online and you say something about how you don't like this freaking Reva person. Something that is vague enough that it could be, if somebody wanted to just be an asshole, like so many people seem to want to be, go, oh, well, you didn't shut down the idea that you don't like her because of race. So makes it all about race and responds to you from this place of look, you're not race and da-da-da-da. This person who responded about Reva and you being a racist because you didn't like Reva, they're not watching the show. They're motivated by defending people of color. They're motivated by attacking and having fights with people like you on the internet. That's where their love for this thing is. Most of the people who are like me, who are on social media and are geeks, are coming from a very different situation. I wouldn't be on social media. I hate it. I hate social media. It's such a part of my life that I have to be on these things. I quit years ago because the conversation got so ugly and everybody was just such dicks to each other. And, most of the people who are on social media, they're on social media because they want people to look at them. Hey, look at me. Hey, look, I've always been afforded, and I'm very grateful for it. I was born into a famous family. I don't really need additional attention. Like people are already treating me sort of weirdly because I'm part of a celebrity family and I do kind of, interesting things. And people give you a lot of credit when you do interesting things. And I appreciate all the credit and kindness that people give me. I try never to abuse that power. I mean, lots of people do, though. Lots of people do. And the people who are on these social platforms, they don't feel like me. They don't feel like, oh, I'm from the Snyder family, and I've been on many TV shows, and I've done things that I feel proud of, so I feel proud of myself. Most of these people don't feel super proud of themselves. They feel like they're building a reputation for themselves. They're trying to make the right friends and impress people in the right way. Everybody's essentially showing off on social media out of necessity for one reason or another, like for work and stuff. Right? So people are doing stuff for work. They're talking about things. I like to be viewed as a geek. I grew up watching Ninja Turtles. They're not geeks. They don't read anything. They're just passive geeks who know like a little bit of something, and they identify as a geek so that they can have a personality online. And then they play the part of the defensive person. I am the virtue person who will defend all of the blacks and defend all of the I love everybody. Okay? You're black. I love you, man. I don't care. I don't care. I don't see it. I don't see your color. I don't see your sex. I don't care. I love everybody. I'm a people pleaser. I'm somebody who's always just wanted people to like them and wanted to do things that would generally ingratiate myself to the world because I love the world. I love animals. I love different people. I love buildings and jungles and forests and mountains and skating and sports and comics, and life is good. Life can be fucking good. And we're all focused on all this shit, like reading into things, like literally like pulling badness out of things. And the people who are doing that in this main social thing, the majority of them, that is what they are engaged in. They are not engaged in geek culture. If they watch Obi-Wan or Ahsoka, maybe they get to it, maybe they don't. They're not passionately waiting for this thing, and then when it arrives, they're devastatedly disappointed because of how fucking shit it was. That's us. We feel terrible about this thing. They feel terrible about other things that are important to them, and if we vaguely seem to be suggesting that some casting decision made might be not a good one, when that decision was made because of reasons, they're going to come after us. They're going to go and tell us that we're racist or we're sexist, or it's crazy. It's fucking ludicrous. The fans who are online, you know why they're online? Like if you're a famous person, if you're somebody who's on social media, you're on social media for work, do you want to know why the other people are there? Because they want to interact with these people that they admire. You know how many people I've spoken to who have just been gutted by some of the creators in the industry who went after them because they misunderstood a text? This happens all the time. They misunderstood a tweet or a direct message. They misunderstood it, came from a place of darkness and viciously attacked the person so badly that they just quietly walked away. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. Sorry. Most of these people feel really small. And I know you see lots of, loud voices and angry reactions. What do they say? The cowardly dogs bark loudest. Okay? Cowardly dogs bark loudest. There's lots of artists and filmmakers and shit. They're not fucking fighters. They're cowardly dogs. They are. They don't want to be getting in all this conflict. I don't like getting in this conflict. I'm like one of these people who's like real like, it almost seems like I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth sometimes because I'm like sort of like really extreme, like, and bold and confident sort of thing. But at the same time, I worry and I'm empathetic and I wonder and I'll, so I'm like one part like I can do it, and then the other part's me like I don't know, maybe. So I get it. I relate to everybody in the crowd who is participating in this thing, and like I don't befault. No, I don't begrudge a person participating in a conversation that seems important to them on the internet. Okay? It just so happens that it's creating this illusory idea that there's like an us and them, and there's like 50% of the geek culture people are like really into this, and then the other 50% aren't. No. It's like 90% of us who aren't being heard are like dude, who asked for this? Who asked for them to keep making these changes? Who asked them to do this? Why didn't they do George Lucas's pitch that he gave them? You know, like who told you to call an audible and that you knew better than thousands and thousands of brilliant artists and writers and creators who have built the geek culture industry as it is? Like, it's just so disappointing. It's so disappointing that the mainstream has been able to sell this notion of demonizing half the fandom, and that the noisy social media pundits who are super, super hyper liberal and playing like, you know, just playing off the ledge. I'm hyper liberal, but I'm even not as hyper liberal as these people are, because I don't believe in infringing on the rights of other people. The moment you're like, you know what, I don't think these other people in society are smart enough. Like, dude, know your role, okay? Everybody on planet Earth is free. We're supposed to be encouraging each other to do the right thing. You know, prison time and prison sentences and like hurting people hurt people. The more you hurt people, the more you affect pain and vengeance upon people. It just plays out in the psyche in other ways. And you know, and sometimes you can break people and get them to bend to your will. But I promise you, that's not the way to go. Hearts and minds are one. You know, my mother has won my father morally over time because she's really rooted in her heart and knows how to behave the right way and do what is really thoughtful for other people and be really kind and considerate. And my father has, it's not like a lack of empathy or anything on his part, because he's a very empathetic guy. And that's why he chose such an empathetic and loving wife. But sometimes thoughts and choices that would come into his head, you know, I'm going to do this. You know, my mom would be sitting there going, no, we're not going to do that. And like, why? Why can't I do it? Well, because of this and this and this. And like, we shouldn't do that. A reasonable person who you love talking to you from the heart can get you to change your mind. People shouting at you on the internet just sort of backs you into a corner, makes you mad, makes you just want to like fight. I got so freaking hot the other day, because I'm always having these conversations. Actually, not the other day, it was just today, right before I did the show. I was in like a little forum with a whole bunch of different comic book creators, people who are just making comic books independently, and they were just all talking about how ugly the conversation has become. You know, on the right side, the people on the right side are fighting amongst each other. The people on the left side are fighting amongst each other. The left and the right are constantly fighting. It's like so upsetting. And I wrote this long thing just about how, you know, I felt about it and just how frustrating it was to me. And one of the people in the chat called me a fence sitter. I literally wanted to write him a message and say, meet me anywhere, anytime, and we're going to have a fist fight. Like, he's questioning my honor. And like, it's one thing to fight over politics and stuff, but that really pisses me off. At the same time, though, I sit there going like, wanting to respond to this in this negative way, going like, well, what will that really help? And does that make me look like a rational, level-headed person to react that way? No. It doesn't make me look very good. It makes me look like a hothead. And it makes me look angry. And I've seen that, you know, throughout my life. Like, I was just telling my son the other day, because he's dealing with people not being kind to him when he feels that he's generally being very kind to them, and like they're making fun of him and they're picking on him or whatever. He's 9 years old, 8 years old. And I said, Grayson, you know, I grew up with this my whole life because I've always been kind of bold, had a lot of energy. And when you have a lot of energy, you'll put yourself out there in a group. I don't really like putting myself out there like on stage and stuff. Like, I do it and I've gotten used to doing it, and nowadays I'm really good at it, but I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. It made me very uncomfortable that everybody was watching me. But within like a group of friends or something, I was just so excited to be with friends, and I want to have fun. I want to play games, you know, like what do you want to do? Like, and I would monopolize the conversation. Sometimes I would talk about myself too much because I was a little insecure. And then, you know, you find out, you get feedback from people around you that like, oh shit, like, you know, you're being too much, and people are reacting to it in these ways. And if people want to feel sort of bothered by the fact that you have so much energy and you can participate in the conversation so much and so easily, and they have any insecurity about their ability to participate in the conversation, about their ability to, enthusiastically participate with friends or be a part of the group. You trigger people. You trigger their egos, and they don't know it. They don't realize that, like, oh man, I'm ego compromised and I'm not really behaving nicely and I've just said something kind of mean-spirited to this person, but really it was like so that I could reconstitute myself back into a place of reasonable comfort and confidence, because you being here, demonstrating abilities that I don't necessarily have, is making me uncomfortable. So my son's going into school and he's demonstrating an energy and an enthusiasm that's making other people a little uncomfortable, where they're pushing back and they're making fun of him. But what happens when they push back on him? He gets really mad. He's giving people the death stare. I know, I understand. My son is very much like I was when I was a little kid. My family has misunderstood me for most of my life because of how angry I would get when people would be rude to me. And I don't think they really had any idea all the different ways that they were being rude to me. I don't think they had reached a part of their own perspective development, and everybody develops different attributes at different times. So it's just they hadn't gotten to these areas, and maybe they had other areas that they were aware of and they were on, but there were aspects of their empathy that were not in place. And things would be done in my direction, and I would freaking flip out like, whoa, what the hell? And it would be like, man, look at Jesse. He's so angry. I'm so angry. Well, I'm so angry because everybody's being rude to me. Like, well, you guys are being mean. You shouldn't have done that. But what happened very quickly over time was I became known as like somebody who was just like really hard to talk with and was really angry, and they would like sometimes think the worst of what I was doing and where I was coming from, because they saw me as an angry person. And I've literally had to spend the rest of my adult life like removing my the interaction with my family that is angry. And I'm not perfect at it, because sometimes I still get frustrated. I am very sensitive. I love my family very much, and they'll say things to me and I'll be like, oh my God, I can't even take that. Like, how could you say that to me? And I feel like I'm like sort of perpetually forgiving people, but I'm perpetually forgiving people because I'm getting so upset. And when we get so upset so consistently, we end up betraying ourselves and portraying ourselves as angry. And I think actually that's something that's going on in the fandom right now. I think because of so many people being so rude to us and not realizing, you call somebody a racist and you think that that's a perfectly valid thing. And the people there on the other side are like, you have no idea. You don't know me. You're calling me a racist based on the fact that I don't like Reva? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the hell? These sort of slights are really deep rooted. I'm in all worlds, I'm not Comicsgate. I'm not Comicsgate. I'm not anti-Comicsgate. I love the geek culture community. I don't like the idea that it's been like split down the middle. So sometimes I hang out with people who are decidedly not the Comicsgate thing, and then sometimes I'll end up with some people who are, in Comicsgate. I think I've talked before about how one of my best friends and the person I worked on King of Kings with for 10 years, he joined Comicsgate, as soon as Comicsgate was formed, basically because two of his best friends were in the thing, and I don't even know who those people were. He was just like, yeah, two of my best friends are already in the thing, and like, I kind of just had to do the thing. I'm sorry, like, I hope this doesn't like affect you in any way, because like when you're a professional, holy crap, this stupid politic thing has become really big. But if I'm the person that I say I am, I'm a centrist, and I don't give a shit about your politics as long as you're kind to me and you're kind to everybody, you're not hurting everybody, then I'm cool with you. That's how I roll. It's not about like, oh well, I believe in this religion, so I hate you. I don't hate everybody who believes in any religion. I don't hate anybody who believes anything. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate people who hate me. That's just some mistake they're making. There's no reason to hate me. I'm a really nice guy. I just want us all to be happy. It's the truth, People have a hard time sometimes with me, like, complimenting myself, being positive about myself. I understand, but that's on you guys. That's you feeling insecure that you can't say the same thing about yourself. Like, and dude, I can't say that about myself all the time. I've struggled with so much depression and so much anxiety, but I really do believe that positive affirmations are like a gift from God. It's like just there's so much power in them to say something positive, to think something. It's not possible to do the thing until you believe you can do the thing. It's what is it like? Just thousands of people now have broken that 5-minute mile, and for ages it was like, no one will ever break 5 minutes on the mile. And then one person did it, and that was it. The floodgate opened because now people believed in their minds that the thing was possible. So, to believe that you're a nice guy, to say you're a nice guy, and to try to show up and act that way, I think is the thing. I think that's what we're supposed to do. Say the thing, do the thing. Say the thing, do the thing. To some degree, I really believe we have to visualize it. We don't necessarily have to say it out loud, but we have to think of it. We have to have it in our mind what we are. I have a tattoo on my arm. It says coolest man alive. It doesn't say coolest geek alive. My tattoo says coolest man. But coolest man was all a reference to the Fonz and the way he was on Happy Days, the old sitcom. The Fonz was a linchpin of every episode of Happy Days. Essentially, whatever the foundational problem of the episode would be, at some point in time, people would see the Fonz. And the Fonz would either say something that perfectly affected the future outcome by being really just wise and worldly, or the Fonz would fucking put some gloves on, get in there, and help you directly. You got a bully, you got something you can't stand up to, well, that's not fair. I'm going to help. And that's who I wanted to be. I wrote this great sketch called Ernie Be Good for my pitches for Sesame Street on HBO. I don't think they ever read my pitches. They were wonderful, though. I cold reached out to this person who was taking the submissions and stuff. He didn't know me from a hole in the wall, so I doubt he ever paid attention to what I wrote. But one of the stories was called Ernie Be Good, and it was all about Ernie wearing a leather jacket, walking around Sesame Street, doing good deeds, throwing away garbage, opening up doors for people, walking old ladies across the street. And there were some little kids who were observing him going, who's that? Oh, that's Ernie Be Good. He's the coolest Muppet on Sesame Street. He's so cool. And showing kids that it's cool to be kind. That's it, man. You say, oh man, he's really cool. He's really cool. That means he validated me. He acknowledged my existence. He made me feel good about myself for a second. He made me not feel small. He made me feel like he was an equal to me. That's a cool guy. So who's the coolest man alive? Who's the coolest geek alive? I'm the person who I want us all to feel like we're equals to each other. I want us to feel good, And I hope that other people aspire to be cool like me. Cool. Equals to everybody. Kind. Is that such a terrible thing? I don't think so. For me, that's peace on earth and harmony when we all can claim to be the coolest person on planet Earth, and we all are. We're all capable. We're all capable of all the same shit. It really all comes down to where our passions and interests lies. And because we all have different passions and interests, it leads us to different places. And that's why we have this thing where geek culture is rising up with its passion to interact with writers and artists and directors and whatnot. And then unfortunately, we have other people who have passions that are like social passions that have really been pulled into the entertainment sphere because so many people have felt for so long that this planet Earth is backwards, that we've all been drawn to go into entertainment. We were hoping to convince everybody that there could be a better world. But somewhere along the way, we went off the tracks and we got into this really pushy narrative thing. We create narratives that are very pushy and push upon the audience certain political things. And it's not the way. This is not the way. This is not the way. All right, so Star Wars is fucking dead. All right, time of death, Ahsoka. Star Trek. Time of death. The moment the fans realized that Star Trek Discovery was Starfleet Black Ops show. Star Trek was dead, okay? Because this flew in the face of what Star Trek was so hard, fans like Doomcock started YouTube channels to properly express their discontent, and fans like me stopped watching cold turkey and have not returned even for a moment, okay? Star Wars has been dead since the first episode of Star Trek Discovery. People have been trying to drag me into watching the third season of Picard, but the only power I have in this situation is my time, my money, and my attention. And if I wish for a proper steward of my hero Gene Roddenberry's important contribution to science fiction, then I cannot feed the beast that is Alex Kurtzman and his absolutely detestable Star Trek. There were many moments during episode number 1 of Star Trek Discovery where you might pronounce Star Trek dead, like when people realized that in the world of Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek, future humans are just as shitty as they are in this moment on Earth. And the Federation is just like every other ruling body on planet Earth. Let's not even bother getting into Spock's new relative and bestest ever long-lost sister, Captain of STD, because the building was on fire before you even start evaluating the cast or the characters. It's just all wrong on every level. It's been dead for me. It's a Star Trek Black Ops show. My buddy James Kenneth Woodward, who paints so many of the Star Trek comics, if you're a fan of the Star Trek comics, some of those are wonderful. He works with them with Star Trek, so he has to kind of defend the brand a little bit because he's part of the brand. And he said to me, he's like, "So you don't like the modern day world?" And I said, "What, are you fucking kidding me? Of course I don't like the modern day world. I hate the fucking modern day world. Star Trek is the antithesis of the modern day world. They made it like this place. I hate it." I mean, Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry had a sort of a mandate, and I forget what it was called. I used to know what it was called. But it was a mandate to the writers that they weren't to focus on dispute. Like, their conflict shouldn't come from petty disputes amongst the officers on the ship. The conflict should come from outside of the ship, and the story should be about them working together to overcome the odds, always and forever. And this is a major thing. I mean, granted, there was some conflict here or there between the people. It wasn't like an absolute thing. There couldn't be any conflict. And I know people talk about, oh, conflict is everything. When you think conflict is everything, you write shitty things. Conflict is not everything. The first thing and everything is the point. What is the point of the thing you were making? After the point comes, what is the story? After the story comes, how do we fill this with as much excitement? Not necessarily just conflict, excitement as possible. Excitement includes not only conflict, but also resolution to conflict, rewards for effort, things like that. And this is not like rewards for effort when, like, you're Mary Sue and you get everything given to you and everybody treats you with total respect and you didn't earn anything, and then everybody's like, oh man, I don't like this character because they didn't do anything. And there are Mary Sue boy characters as well. Mary Sue is just a term to describe a character who's just like, oh, everybody likes Mary Sue. We've just chosen a likable person. Oh yeah, everybody likes her. Like, that's not compelling. That's not exciting. We want to see people who have something that they want and they're trying to get it. And the very simple thing that we wanted and Star Trek wanted was the exploration of the galaxy. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be exploring themselves as people that are all fucked up still. The people on the Star Trek Enterprise, they're the next generation of people who don't have this shit anymore, who don't suffer from depression, who don't suffer from anxiety, who can do the things that we struggle to do. They're essentially human superheroes. They just don't, their superpower is that they got their shit together when we couldn't. In the future, they got their shit together on all the levels that we couldn't. Holy shit. Star Trek's dead, guys. It's dead. And I will not watch Picard Season 3. And what was it, like a month after Picard Season 3 that fucking musical episode came out of one of the stupid Star Trek things? They have just turned this shit into some fucking superficial, mainstream nonsense. It's like the equivalent of Lizzo dancing with She-Hulk on the She-Hulk episode. Oh, look at that. Yeah, mainstream normies are really going to love this. Mainstream, it doesn't matter if the mainstream normies might like the thing that you came up with. They're not going to watch shit if your foundational audience isn't interested. If your foundational audience says, this sucks, I'm not down, it's never going to get off the ground. We are the discerning friend at the table. And you take your superhero movie recommendations from us. You take your novel recommendations from us. You take your cartoon recommendations from us. We are the people that you call on the phone and you go, hey, anything good that's been on Netflix lately? And we go, oh, yeah, there's a couple things. I'll recommend Arcane. You watch Arcane yet? Hey, how about that? We all have our friends who we call. I have my friends who I call. You know, like every geek needs assistant geeks so that he can have as many fingers in the pie and find out what's good. Okay? Those people are the tastemakers. I'm a tastemaker. We don't need your opinion. We make the tastes. Those people that you're trying to get who are the Kim Kardashian watchers and still think that Hillary Clinton is like clean as slick as she's perfect. She's never done anything wrong. Those are the people that you're trying to get, the people who don't pay attention to anything a little bit deeper under the surface to look at what's going on. Those people, they don't make taste. They don't make taste, buddy. And I'm sorry that you're one of them. You're one of them. The Alex Kurtzmans of the world are these people. They are these superficial people playing a superficial game, scared to death that they may lose their high-paying Hollywood job. Everybody pushing each other around with all these big egos and wanting to see each other fail, and it being so easy to have a failure in Hollywood because most of the people don't freaking know what they're doing on at least one level or another. And all you have to do is not understand what you're doing on one fundamental level, and that's it. You're screwed. You have to recognize on every single, I'm not as successful as a writer as I could have been because I'm a bad businessman, and I become a better businessman, but I don't think that way. I'm just not I'm not built this way. There are people who are built to just be pushing themselves upon everybody and force themselves in the right place at the right time, and they succeed. A little bit of that goes a long way in a meek, geek, creative person who wants to make lovely things but doesn't like to ruffle feathers and make people unhappy. It took me a really long time breaking into comics, pitching, because it would take me years. I would meet people multiple times. It would be the third person, the third time I met somebody, if things went well, I would ask them if I could pitch them some comics. But I wouldn't do it the first time I met an editor. I thought it was rude. And I wouldn't do it the second time I met an editor. I thought it was rude. So I would literally, the third time, I'd be well, now that we know each other a little bit, can I pitch you on something? Trust me, there are rude people in comics who have been getting these jobs that I haven't gotten because I couldn't do it. And I'm not built for it on that level, or at least I wasn't. And now I've had to really change myself. And social media, I can't stand social media. So what did I do? I found a different way to have a platform, to have a voice, to be able to speak. My this podcast is growing thanks to people like you listening. Thank you so much, guys. We've had the past 3 months of 400,000, well over 400,000 downloads. Thank you. But I'm not good at social media. I'm pretty good at this, I think. Fingers crossed. You guys seem to like it, and I appreciate you. And hopefully I never get shitty at it. But, not everybody's got everything there. And, this Alex Kurtzman Star Trek is just such a perfect example of somebody who just played the game. They talked the talk and walked the walk, and they handed them this thing, and they destroyed it without a thought. They not a thought that they were doing anything despicable. They just, this needs to be improved. This is boring to some people. I know that some people thought Star Trek was boring. They can F themselves. Star Trek is perfectly wonderful. And there are other ways to make Star Trek less boring than just going, all right, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater and let's do a Black Ops show. For those of you who have never watched Star Trek is an actual positive depiction of the future. It's actually the only positive depiction of the future in fiction that I'm aware of. And if you know of another positive depiction of a science fiction future besides Star Trek that shows a future where we actually get our shit together, please tell me about it. Write me at jesseblaze@jessesnyder.com. I would love to watch it because I need a new one. Star Trek. Star Trek was my hope that in the future, mankind was going to get this shit right, that we were going to fix things. And to see the show remade into basically business as usual. Here we are, humans in the future, same as it ever was. And so are all the aliens we meet. Hoorah. I liked it better when the Federation was fighting different alien races that represented different aspects of the human psyche that needed to be healed. That's what Star Trek used to be about. Not anymore. Star Trek is dead. All right, moving on to Marvel. The Marvel's budget, its budget turns out it's one of the biggest. If you heard the news that initially news went around that the Marvels was the smallest budget or one of the smallest budgets ever. As it turns out, it's actually one of the biggest. It is literally the opposite. What do I say all the time? If you're hearing news about it because money has been put into the publicity of the idea, it's possibly a lie. It's trying to push you into a certain thing. They put money into the things that they want you to believe. Okay, so a lot of money was put into the little press being put, oh, we spent no money. And then people dug into that, and potentially $350 million was spent on the Marvels. The break even for this movie is going to be somewhere between 800 and 900 million. It's tracking 42% behind Eternals. 42% behind Eternals. Eternals barely made 400 million. This movie could easily lose 400 million. All right, right now on Disney Plus, Loki is coming off of Secret Invasion with 3 terrible finished shows waiting for release. Agatha Harkness, Ironheart, and Echo. They're all done, haven't been released yet. And Daredevil just got the restart. If you didn't listen to the last episode, they fired their showrunners. They're going to use like little sparing bits from the season, and they're bringing in new people. We don't know who they are yet. If they're smart, they'll bring in the original showrunners from the Netflix series. But they're not smart, so they probably won't do that. But let's see. If they do that, that'll be a real sign of positive change at Marvel. Anyway, I do think fans will come back for things they have been waiting to see, like let's say Deadpool or Fantastic Four, if it looks like it might possibly be good, or X-Men, if that looks like it might be good. But now, and especially after this, I believe we are in a wait-and-see mode with Marvel, which for all intents and purposes means the fever and interest is dead. But I think it slid into death, and really strong showing with Deadpool could get people excited about the brand again. But it can't just be solid to pretty good. It's got to be outstanding if it's going to jumpstart the universe. And it must come from a place where people can clearly see a love for the source material shining through, and a promise of more love for that source material, and more satisfaction of these stories that we're still waiting to see told on the big screen. Because that's all the audience gives a shit about. So, Marvel, they're dead. Deadpool has a chance to maybe resuscitate them, but for now, they're dead. And considering all the things that they did on Daredevil that were mistakes, and that they're going to try to use a lot of the footage of some of the things that they shot for that show in the new series, I'm nervous that they're not going to be able to change this new Daredevil Born Again series enough to fix anything. And everything that they've got lined up right now, from Thunderbolts and the Captain America New World Order with Falcon, these things are not highly in demand. And like people are interested in Thunderbolts, but this isn't the Thunderbolts. You don't know if you didn't read the comics. But the Thunderbolts were the masters of evil in disguise, pretending to be heroes, trying to do dastardly things. Of course, the story goes to all interesting places. It's a story that people are interested in. They'd love to see the Thunderbolts put up on the big screen. There are some other incarnations of the Thunderbolts that exist that are a little bit different than what I just described. But this isn't any of them either. This is just some made-up group of people that they put together. It's not even a group of villains. It's a bunch of heroes, mostly, and a couple assholes, villains that they changed significantly enough that the audience isn't excited to see those characters brought to life, because the promise of the stories that they read with them no longer exists. If you ever read a story with Ghost and you like that character in the comics, he's a boy. Now it's a black lady. Okay, so it's a whole, and she's got a different backstory and a whole different thing. So it's not the Ghost from the comics. It's a little bit of the visual, not quite. She kind of looks like slick and stuff. The Ghost in the comics is kind of creepy in a couple interesting ways. He's interesting. Same thing with Taskmaster. Taskmaster's a character that we frickin' know. Tony Masters is a character that has shown up in a lot of books, whether it be the Avengers, or a book like Deadpool, or his own interesting stories. He's shown up at a lot of different times and a lot of different places because people like that character and there's interesting things to be done with him. Like I said, my introduction to him was with Deadpool. I didn't exactly say that, but I just said he's associated with Deadpool. I love the stories that feature Taskmaster and Deadpool. There's some really interesting ones. He's a very interesting character to face Deadpool. He's a very interesting character to face a lot of characters. He shows up in Captain America. There's a lot of different associations that Taskmaster has. So now you change this character arbitrarily to the mute daughter. They basically Deadpooled her. She's like, she's a quiet lady underneath the mask of the Taskmaster suit. It's no longer the guy who we've read tons of his stories. He's led his own books. He's done some miniseries and stuff led by Taskmaster. I've read those books. Lots of people I know read those books because we like that character. We like Taskmaster. Lots of people who like comic books and like to read comics, we like the villains. So, we'll read those small little things when they show up because we want to see that stuff. So Taskmaster, this Thunderbolts team it's not the Thunderbolts. It's nothing that we're remotely interested in. I think they've shot themselves in the foot before anything started. As soon as this announcement was made, all these things, people had our suspicions because nobody had been really introduced into the Marvel Universe. Like, were they going to introduce all of the Masters of Evil as the Thunderbolts? Nope. Here it is, a bunch of existing people from different films that weren't exactly super successful. They're all the Thunderbolts. Woohoo! Yay. So anyway, Marvel, sorry guys, you're dead. You're dead. There's no enthusiasm for Loki. I just finally started watching it because I don't really care. And I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't think anybody cares. I'm not seeing any reviews. Some because I follow a lot of channels, but just the amount of fire for having a conversation about the Marvel Universe and what's going on in it, and the stuff happening in Loki is very essential to anything that must be going on in the future of the Marvel Universe. If they could by chance stick this landing and then have like a 1-2 punch with Deadpool where Deadpool continues some of these things in some fashion and brings them forward and gives us the promise of the Fantastic Four we want and the X-Men we want and the universe that we want. There's rumors now that they're going to bring back Tony Stark and they're going to bring back Steve Rogers and they're going to bring back Black Widow. Okay. If they do, maybe they can save it. Maybe they realize, the ball has hit the ground, and if we don't pick it up right now, we're never going to get it again. So I think Marvel has a chance to save themselves. I don't think Star Wars does. I think Star Wars would have to be completely rebooted at this point to fix the thing. And rebooted like be bought by another company and have them do their own trilogy that takes place after the thing. I don't even know. I feel like Star Wars, maybe the ship has sailed because it's just so we've lost the chance to get Leia and Han and Luke in a scene together. Leia's dead now. They wasted the time and now it's not possible. I'm really sad for friends of mine. It's funny because Star Wars isn't totally dead for me because I liked Andor a lot, and I one of my favorite Star Wars things actually is Rogue One. I love Rogue One, and love the first season of Andor, and I'll watch the second season of Andor, but I'm not watching anything else unless it's by the same creative people that made Andor. Then I'm gonna watch it. See, it's so freaking simple, right? It's so simple. How do you have everybody come back to that Daredevil series? Bring back the creative team. The real problem in this world, and this has hurt me too as a creative person in this world, they don't want to give up power. If you've ever seen at jobs that you get hired at, your manager, if they start to feel rivaled by you, you'll get fired or you'll have a really terrible working environment. The managers, the people above you, they like to feel really safe and powerful in their thing. And if you're coming from a place of celebrity, well, they don't necessarily feel like they can say anything to you that they want, you're coming from a place of power that they don't have. These are all difficult things to be dealing with in this world. So unfortunately, that's a reason why somebody like DeKnight, the showrunner for Daredevil on Netflix didn't get brought in to do the show on Disney Plus, because that guy's a guy who was brought in by Jeff Loeb or some of the people who were working in Marvel TV, and he has relationships with those people. He doesn't necessarily have relationships with Marvel TV. Marvel TV wants to bring in some people that they know and they can control and they feel comfortable with. That's what it comes down to, guys. Egos. So, Star Trek's dead, Star Wars is dead, Marvel's dead, but there's a chance they could come back from this. But the Marvels, I tell you, when the Marvels comes out, it's really going to look bleak. That's going to be the moment where we're going to be like, Marvel's dead. Like, I'm calling the death a little bit before everyone else is going to notice, because I'm smelling the body rotting as I watch season 2 of Loki slowly, because I'm not enthusiastic about it. It's a corpse, man. DC, no sort of successful DC interconnected cinematic universe has yet to exist. The closest to it is the little Suicide Squad and Peacemaker series continuity, kind of, even though it has nothing to do with the comics at all, and they just recreated these characters from the ground up. Man of Steel and Batman versus were met skeptically, I would say, from the very start. And the Justice League reaction was proof of where people were with it. So, I mean, like this has never been a successful cinematic universe. At no point in time could you call this DC thing that they've done a successful cinematic universe. Success with the first Aquaman and the first Wonder Woman were sort of happy accidents that didn't do anything to change people's lukewarm response to the new universe compared to Marvel, with flop after flop of Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, The Flash, Black Adam, and now Blue Beetle, which I think is the biggest flop that they have to date. I have some hope for Aquaman 2 to perform much better than expected, as the first one did too. Nobody expected shit from that Aquaman movie, especially after it was lampooned so hard on that Entourage show on HBO. So the Hollywood people were like, ha 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 ha. They'd been laughing about an idea of an Aquaman show for many, many years. So the idea that something along the lines of Avatar, which was just like a nice PG-13 film aimed up the middle at everybody, that theoretically everybody could enjoy with a charming lead, it was a successful movie. I mean, like, it's so crazy to me sometimes how they fail so spectacularly when you see something like Aquaman, which is so like paint by numbers, middle of the road, and it was $1 billion success. Like, they kind of sort of pleased everybody a little bit, and they made $1 billion. Like, man, when you get into the business of pleasing as many audiences as possible, shit just starts working out for you. Really, it's just gotta please people. But anyway, people are so confused though by this James Gunn retooling that I don't believe this is going to bring things to life for DC. I really don't. Like Wonder Woman before she was brought to life by Zeus, the DCU remains a raw piece of clay yet to be realized. And I mean, really, this is my thing. Like, I'm not saying that DC is dead, because I don't believe DC has ever, for a moment, been alive. I think individual things have been alive, including, like, if we look at that Suicide Squad and that Peacemaker thing, essentially it's one thing. Suicide Squad, and then the tone of that film continued with one of the characters of that film into a series where we continued to do basically the same things and make very similar jokes. Peacemaker, I have such a love-hate with Peacemaker because some of the tone of Peacemaker I don't like for what it does to the tone of the other things that exist in the DC universe, and I don't like how it affects their tones simply by, like, existing. But it's great. It really is great in its own right. It is fun, and it remains to be seen if these things can kind of be mixed together with a little bit of the James Gunn personality to it that, say, Suicide Squad and Peacemaker have, while still maintaining the vibe of other characters in other books when those characters show up to appear. I hope. You know what? I shouldn't say I hope. I'm sure it can be done. I just haven't necessarily seen it done yet, and I don't trust the creative people who they have over there to actually be able to do something like that, which is relative nuance. You got to think about these things in order to execute them the right way so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot. And I mean, DC, holy shit. Any company deserves the award for more times shooting themselves in the fucking foot. It is DC. DC. Oh my, the money that they are set to make the moment they get their heads out of their fucking asses and start actually tapping the well that is the DC comic book universe and Vertigo. I mean, just they will be making so much money. just like, some people just cannot get out of their own way. And Warner Brothers, it's Warner Brothers. You know, Warner Brothers owns DC. I think Warner Brothers, I think the people who are the head of Warner Brothers are such like money-grubbing business lizards that they just can't wrap their head around somebody like Superman going around doing good things. And they think that that's just so passé and lame and yesterday because it's so far away from who they are at their hearts. They don't have any optimism or idealism. So they keep fucking up the foundations of the DC universe, which is based on hope and heroism and saving the day. Such a disappointing thing. All right, moving on. We're going to go to some Lord of the Rings. We've got recently like the 3-punch of Hobbit, Gollum, and Rings of Power, you know, and I think Lord of the Rings died with the Rings of Power. There were a few black eyes along the way, but when Rings of Power was publicized as a success and they started talking about the next season, fans knew that was it. You know, time to give up hope with Amazon. You know, between that Hobbit series, which is really just so disappointing, I just wish that Peter Jackson would make a shortened cut, a single cut of the movie that just gets rid of all the extra Silmarillion shit and just gives us The Hobbit. It's one of my favorite novels of all time. I've read that book multiple times in my life. Love The Hobbit, and I was so disappointed. I was so excited that they were doing that, and just I was so disappointed by the end result across the board. And I didn't play the Gollum video game, but I know people who played that were equally disappointed. Rings of Power, I was smart enough to just smell the shit before it got to my nose and turn my head away. So I did not participate. But that one, oh my God, nobody watched. And all of this PR that they did, it's very clear. Nobody watched. The people who watched freaking hated it. The social influencers who they hired to do things otherwise. Literally, I saw a video of one of the social media influencers who they had hired who hadn't even watched it a couple months after the show had been released. So no interest there, no energy there. They were getting paid to do a thing. They are shills, as they are called. Shills. Shills. I'm not a shill. Shills are very specific things. They are people who will change their beliefs based on what they're getting paid and by who. My beliefs are always my beliefs. You can't change my mind with money. But I'm not the only person in the world, and there's plenty of people who you can pay to do anything. All sorts of things. All sorts of things. All sorts of things. Don't trust everything you hear. Lord of the Rings, I believe, is dead. Can the Lord of the Rings be brought back? I don't know. I mean, like, what more is there to do? I mean, you can adapt The Hobbit again and do it right. Try to adapt the Silmarillion again and do it right. I mean, these books exist, but it's dead with Amazon. Nobody has any trust with them. That's like, you know, and the interest in this franchise from all the normies who had a vision of perfection upon the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings is one of those few things like Pixar, which for so long were viewed as perfect. And now, one thing after another, Hobbit, Gollum, Rings of Power, not so perfect, maybe so dead. I think Rings of Power is dead. I'm going to hit on a couple more. We got Doctor Who. You know, Doctor Who, I believe, can survive if all future seasons quietly repudiate all the terrible changes to the show's canon that were made by the more recent and infamous seasons of the show. I really do think that, you know, because it's essentially just like one bad season, and they've got like 11 seasons telling a certain story. If the creative people can find a good way to just go, well, you misunderstood in this way or that way, like. That's relatively easy to do, I think. And if they have it in their hearts and minds to change the course and I think they can save this show. I don't think it's quite dead, but I do think that it definitely suffered a mortal wounding recently. Continuing on, we got Muppets. You know, Muppets fans have been jerked around for a long time, occasionally getting glimmers of brilliance from Disney Muppets, like the digital videos they released online for a long time. I don't know if you guys love that Bohemian Rhapsody with the Muppets that they did. There were so many funny ones. I used to watch those with my little kids all the time, these little digital shorts of the Muppets. They were really good. This was one way that Disney was trying to get the Muppets out into the world and bring them back to prominence in the way that people are used to. I really think that this was great. great. I don't know how much money it ended up generating. I think it was a bit of like a loss leader for them, trying to do some goodwill with the Muppets, but it did. The most recent Electric Mayhem show is enjoyable. But when Miss Piggy was given her own talk show on that recent The Muppets sitcom, I think that's when people recognized that Disney didn't get the Muppets and really wanted to coddle Miss Piggy, and they were never going to be able to make this shit funny. Because Miss Piggy, it's not just it's not just all about her physical thing. It's make fun of the it's somebody who is unappealing on every level. Miss Piggy is unappealing on every level. She's rude, she's jealous, she's selfish, she's completely about herself and her own dines. She's not empathetic in any way, shape, or form. She's not somebody who deserves to be given a series. She shouldn't be rewarded. All of the Muppets, the premise of all the Muppets is that they have great passion and great love for various things, but they're struggling to achieve it because they're not very good at what they do. And Miss Piggy's not very good at what she does. She's not very talented, and she's not a good person. Miss Piggy is like the one character who really goes down to the full foundation. She's somebody who thinks everything should just be given to her. She's just as terrible a person as you could possibly imagine. And Disney has gotten lost in the idea that she's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. Don't call her a pig, because some women have been called pigs before, and that wasn't nice. I understand. These are two different things. This is comedy. This is a metaphor. She is an unappealing person on every level. Disney, if you can't wrap your head around the fact that you have a character who is unappealing and that is the comedy, you're never actually going to get any comedy out of that character ever again. I mean, you might as well hang up Miss Piggy's tights and stop using her, because she's not a good representative of the overweight community. She's not a good representative of womanhood. She's a rude asshole, a narcissistic asshole. And actually, the more you coddle her, the more it makes you seem just like Warner Brothers, who I think are evil because they can't figure out how there's all this value in the good that Superman represents and the goodness that the DC Universe represents. They refuse to give us this beautiful, perfect world of good that is there to present us with. And you guys refuse to present us with Miss Piggy being treated, or I shouldn't say being treated, getting the results that she deserves, which is no results. The struggle of the Muppets is why we love them. The Muppets struggle. The Muppets struggle, and we love it, and we laugh. That's it. That's what the Muppets are about. You're just like missing the point. All right. I could go on with this all day. There's like so many more. I mean, these are like the biggest ones, but I mean, I'm going to offer up one more because I'm already over my usual hour. So let me just say Pixar. Okay. Elementals was the swan song of Pixar as we have known it, because of the weirdness that happened with Elementals. And now Elementals is not a return to yesterday's Pixar. It's good. It's a really good animated film. I've watched it with my kids a bunch of times. I like it very much. I liked it. It was really like railed against, and people were like against the movie or whatever it was, and a lot of people had lots of negative things to say. I finally saw it with my kids, and I thought it was great. And since it's come to Disney Plus, we've watched it a bunch. I'm a fan first, guys. So, I liked it. But it's not Monsters, Inc. It's not Ratatouille. It's not The Incredibles. It's not Toy Story. It's not changing the world in any shape or form. And because of that, because of its poor showing at the box office, because of their inability to sort of manage what Pixar should be and to continue to have this brand have the strength and meaning that it used to have, they have decided to focus exclusively from now on sequels to Pixar properties. Pixar is now a studio that will exclusively focus on sequels to its existing intellectual property. Pixar, the most creative company on the block, is no longer being creative. This is Bob Iger's doing. This is Bob Iger. This is your guy. I know a lot of you guys, he's your guy. That's Bob Iger's choice. If you don't see that as the stupidest fucking thing to ever be decided by an executive at a studio, Pixar will no longer make original content. Oh my God. It was nice while it lasted, and I'm glad we got Elementals. Here's to the death of Pixar. But I think, as you see, we got Elementals is the death of Pixar. We got Rings of Power is the death of Lord of the Rings. We've got DC's never been living, so it doesn't matter. It's not dead. It's never been alive. Marvel dead with Loki right now and the Marvels, but maybe can make a comeback. Star Wars dead with Ahsoka because it really managed to limp on there for a while. But Star Trek dead with STD. I declare this DEADPOOL won by Star Trek STD. Congratulations, Alex Kurtzman. You were the first person to kill a beloved geek culture franchise. And you will always be remembered for that and similar. Anyway, I'm your friend, Jesse Blaze Snyder, and you can write to me at jesseblaze@jessesnyder.com, or you can follow me on Twitter or X, or whatever the fuck it's called, at CoolestGeekJBS. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for joining me every Wednesday. And join me this Saturday where I'm going to be fucking ranting and raving about gargoyles. And you can join me again next Wednesday for another fucking awesome episode of The Coolest Geek Alive. And I think you know this by now, but it's gonna be fucking awesome!
It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout.
You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snyder. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
You like that? It's a kazoo solo. I played that too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living the shit. My voice is fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right our text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. It's got to be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gotta be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground.